Hello, friends. I'm Andrea Morris, and welcome to another episode of Spill the Wine, a podcast about wine, where we not only do wine tastings, but we also kind of dispel some myths about wine, like it has to be expensive in order to be great, and that you have to know tons of things about wine in order to enjoy it. But actually, the more you listen to this podcast, the more you will learn about wine, and then you'll enjoy it even more. So today we are having a wonderful tasting at one of the newer wineries in the area. It's called Dobbin, and we're here with Nathan and Dave. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk with us and to experience your fantastic wines. Now, I said you're one of the newer wineries. When did you actually open your doors for tastings?
It's been a little, we've done it in bits and pieces. We started in 2019, and it was probably last year we opened our doors to do some preliminary tastings, but this is our first full-scale year.
Great. And how long have you had the property then? Since
2019.
2019. And how many acres do you have?
It's a 50-acre property with 17 acres under vine.
It's an absolutely stunningly beautiful property. Listener, you can't see it, but your wine tastings take place in a tower, which is so cool. I feel so medieval, like if I had long hair, I'd be Rapunzel. But with a beautiful view over a pond, and you can see your vineyards in the background, and it's just really relaxing, and it's just very classy as well, which I think sets the standard for what your wines are about, right?
Yeah, no, thanks. Our ultimate goal really is just to do something that we thought was pretty cool. We wanted, it is a fairly premium wine, but we just wanted what we thought was cool. It's kind of like an adult treehouse.
Did you build this particular building then?
We did, and there was a lot of thought that went into it. It's a family endeavor. So my uncle was really big on having gardens. We both like the idea of having something that added some contemplative experience to the wine. So we did. We looked at different towers and basically stole a bunch of different ideas from a bunch of different places and made this. But the idea was to be able to get a look at each vineyard, like you mentioned, from a pop and experience the vineyards as you're tasting. That was a pretty interesting idea.
It's kind of immersive without being immersive.
Yeah, you get to be indoors, and at the same time, you get to be outdoors.
The first time I came here, I had planned to have a tasting on the patio, but it was pouring down rain. So instead, we were upstairs on the very top of the tower, which ended up being a really cool experience.
Yeah, and I think I think you're the first person to actually have a tasting up there.
Yeah, we're absolutely.
Yay!
It's really cool because you can actually see the escarpment and everything from there as well, and actually get to see the slopes of the vineyard, how it comes down and into the pond that feeds 16 Mile Creek here.
That was a really interesting and really fun experience. Now, you have kind of a different approach too, as most of your wines organic, your growing process.
Yeah, so our all of our estate wines are organic. We're 100% organic, and that was the legacy of the previous owner that started 25 years before we got here. So that I think we're definitely the oldest organic farm in Ontario, or quite possibly in Canada, or our vineyard, I should say.
Yeah.
Now, just in case someone's listening and isn't quite sure what you mean by organic farming, can you clarify that a little bit more? Like, as a winery, what does being organic actually mean?
Mostly it's just not using conventional sprays is the main thing. So they're not hazardous. You're using things like sulfur and copper sprays. It's a lot more vigilance to take care of it. It's 17 acres. I wouldn't wish it on anyone over that size, to be honest, because you've got to be on top of everything really quickly. It's definitely doable, but it's a lot more vigilance. But it does, you're not denuding the soils or nutrients. You're not, and it's even just at a personal level, for my kid or our family or anyone who works here, there's, with conventional sprays, there's like a 48 or 72 hour turnaround before you can even go back into the vineyards if you spray them. So, but we think it lends a lot to the flavors of the wine. You're getting I don't think you get a realistic snapshot of the terroir without it, to be honest.
Do you think that it makes it really affects the skin as well of the grape?
I honestly couldn't say much. I couldn't say. In the grand scheme, it probably lends something, to every part of the vine and the fruit. I honestly I'd be lying if I pretended to know that it actually dealt with the skins. I don't know if Dave has an opinion on it.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm not entirely sure exactly what the effects are of it on the exact, like the skins of the grapes particularly. But like Nathan said, having that re-entry period of 48 to 72 hours is a long time for us. Like you said, it's 17 acres, which is manageable for us to go through. I like going through the vineyard at least 3-4 times a week just to make sure. And with such a small acreage, we're able to go through and look at all the particular blocks and vines and everything. So by not having that re-entry period, we're able to get out and be able to forecast and see whatever's going on within the vineyard at that time.
And not feel like creepy, like when you spray yourself with off or something, you just feel like I have to shower afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see it in vineyards. And like I said, I'm not criticizing anyone that is using conventional, because if you've got a larger acreage plot, I don't know how you do it organically, to be honest. If you had 100 acres, I don't think you could manage it, to be honest. I mean, people do, I'm sure they do, but it would be tough. So hats off to those that have bigger slots that are doing organic as well.
Especially with our staff size that we have here.
Is it like 3 or 2?
Give Garrett a shout out.
Yeah,
he's the third musketeer.
So how many varietals do you have on the property?
4.
4?
Yep. Yeah, we do Pinot Noir, do Cab Franc, Chardonnay, and Riesling. Not specific in that order, but
Were these all vines that were already here when you got the property, or did you plant them all?
no, we have 3 vineyards. They're about 3. The one behind us, which is the Fay vineyard, it's about 3 acres. The driveway when you drove in is about 2, and we've got about a 12 acre plot across the pond there. Then the one behind us and the one across the pond we replanted. The previous owner had Vidal in the Fay vineyard there, and the one across the pond, the Martin vineyard, it was just every conceivable variety. It was like every 3 rows it changed. There was 120 rows over there. So we decided to replant. And the big part was that we wanted to go, like I said before we started talking, we predominantly wanted to do Pinot and Chardonnay, and we were convinced to do Riesling and Cab Franc. We also convinced ourselves of. But it's focus. So we want to be focus driven. We want to make sure we're not overdoing it with varietals. We want to make sure that, same with the acreage, we don't want to expand it. It's something we want to be able to keep a focus on what we're doing. So that'll be the 4 we'll always stick with. And they're the best performing in this region for sure.
And even with the Pinot, you could still like maybe do some other things with that. Or the Cab Franc, you can always do a rosé at one point if you feel like it.
Yeah, we're it's. Sorry, I should have Dave talk. Yeah, I'll say my piece. I mean, we're open. I mean, this thing, every season is different. So you're going to be at the mercy of what the season gives you. And it's supposed to be fun at the end of the day. So
yeah, absolutely. As well as, with Pinot, I know this year actually we did bring in some Pinot Noir. That's going to be going towards some sparkling in the future.
Oh.
So, yeah. So far, we've just unblocked the block. So that'll be really cool for us going forward.
Oh, it sounds like great things are in store for the future here. So why don't we get started and taste some of your wine?
Sure. I'll let Dave explain what we're going to taste.
Okay, perfect. Sure. All right, what are we starting with, Dave?
We're starting with our 2019 Chardonnay. It's from 20 Mile Bench appellation. Some of it is from the property. However, as Nathan was saying, the only site that we didn't replant at the time in 2019 was the West Block, right along the driveway there. So we had to outsource and call on some friends and really good producers in the 20 Mile Bench area to acquire some Chardonnay that went into this blend as well.
Just for people that are listening that don't know what appellation is, what are you referring to?
Oh, for sure. So basically, the broader spectrum of it is, if you're familiar with Burgundy and everything like that, they were able to kind of codify certain plots of land based on whether it's historic significance, the ability to make certain levels of grapes or quality and everything going forward. So it's a fairly new construct in Niagara to sort of delineate different areas within it to give, I guess, more or less customers expectations for certain areas and what they can expect going forward from these certain styles of wine. So for us, for example, we're on the 20-mile bench. So there's a bunch of different bench sites in the Niagara region. And where we are, all of our fruit for this Chardonnay is sourced from this specific area.
Is the 20-mile bench known for anything in particular, like the Chardonnay grapes or?
Chardonnay, Pinot Noir.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, it's got a beautiful color to it. It's a little bit, I find it to be a little bit darker than most Chardonnays. Is it filtered or unfiltered?
This is filtered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I find with an unfiltered, they tend to be really, really dark.
Mm-hmm.
Got a really lovely nose on it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The 2019 is really coming into its own. When we first opened it up last year, when we did our soft opening, it was showing really nice. And to be honest, the reason we're still pouring it is that it just keeps developing with age, and we're really, really proud of the direction that it's gone in.
It's very soft initially on the palate. I think on my tongue, I feel it's really soft, and then that little bit of citrus just hits, and just I find it just like a lemon lime kind of, maybe even a little pineapple.
I think that's fair.
It's really the really nice full bodied Chardonnay.
It is, absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's that's the great thing that our winemakers have been able to do, and from somebody that has zero to do with the winemaking, it's such a privilege, to have these guys make something that shows so well that you can be so proud of.
Yeah, it's even like third sip, little buttery.
Yeah, we do full mallow on all the Chardonnays, at least so far. We haven't gone away from that. All of our cooperage, so all our barrels are French Burgundian oak. For the most part, for our Chardonnay, we try and keep it between 20 and 25% new oak to try and keep it a little bit more restrained. And the fact that it was still our 2019, we really want to let that age come through so it's not hitting you over the head like a hammer, I guess.
Yeah, with like, here's, bam.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of the inverse of California.
It's just
style.
really, really good. Thank you. I could have 2 or 3 glasses of this right now and be quite happy.
That's not hard to drink, that's for sure.
Not at all. And I will be honest, I'm not a lot of times a huge Chardonnay fan. But this is a really inviting and really welcoming Chardonnay because it just is, it's not harsh. I find sometimes Chardonnays I find them very sharp.
Yep.
But this is very soft and welcoming, and it's really a treat to drink.
We get that a lot with people. We get that a lot with tastings where we book, it'll be a table full of businessmen, and they'll say, I don't drink white. And then you walk away with, a case of Riesling and a case of Chardonnay. And I get where they're come from. It's similar. And I feel the same way as you do. It's that you're getting that mouthfeel that you don't normally get out of a lot of whites. There's some people that are accomplishing it as well, but it's not very common.
But like every sip, it's another adventure because it just keeps opening up and showing you a little bit more of what the wine is about with every sip. And that's a really beautiful, complex Chardonnay. And well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think it's one of my top Chardonnays in the area. So
fantastic.
Yay. So what's up next, Dave?
We have our 2020 Cabernet blend. This is an 85% Cab Franc, 15% Merlot. This is one of the only wines that we've done where none of it came from the property.
Oh.
And then Nathan could actually speak about the Cabernet.
Yeah. Well, what happened was, so we hadn't plans to do a Cabernet Franc nor a Riesling. And so the story of the Cabernet is that what happened was when we had the Martin Vineyard and we were pulling it out, and this was Wade H. Knuckles' insistence that we make a big red. And although our 19 I don't think you classify as a big red in the long run, they said, well, they kind of somewhat reluctantly, and Peter said, well, okay, we'll crop this. There's like 3 rows of grapes. So we'll crop it down to a bunch per shoot, and then that way we can get the ripeness out of it. and they put it in barrels and straight. It was actually Garrett and I were the only two here at the time would watch the barrels, top them up every week or so, and we drank it every time we topped it up. And I said, this is pretty good. Like, and it just kept getting better, even in barrel, even in the early days. And and I think the intention was to just, make it, and let it show that it wasn't worth keeping. But yeah, it really turned out great. And we said, well, this site, and the vines were not the best taken care of from the previous owner. We were pulling them out. We said, well, if this site's capable of doing this on less than quality vines, then we got to have a look at it. And then what happened was, so we decided to plant Cab Franc. But what happened was we didn't have anything ready. And then 2020 hit, which is arguably the year of the century in Niagara. And we really just said we can't be left out, not making Cab Blend. And we had, and again, our winemakers, and Peter and Ann, still with us, they have phenomenal connections, and they were able to pull wines they were able to call in favors and get some great wines. And the 15% Merlot actually was just a happenstance find where, I mean, a lot of places couldn't grow a bad Merlot that year. And Peter came across a vineyard that probably wouldn't have been looked at any other year. So this is the best Merlot I've ever seen. And it was just luck. So he jumped on and got it for us. So we were able to make this really great, somewhat understated. Like they're going for finesse. Their winemaking, not something that's just going to punch you in the face, which I really appreciate.
And even in 2020, what we really like about this wine is the elegance and the finesse with it, because and we could have taken it in that direction that year to make the Bay bold ones, but our direction going forward is going to be to try and have a bit more of that restraint. So to have in our second vintage, to have something completely different that we're going for the rest of our vintages going forward would be kind of odd. So we tried to keep this one very, very elegant with some nice perfume on it. This one itself, it's I believe 50% new oak on it.
That it's fruity, I think almost cherry smell initially.
For the aroma. And that's part of it too, right? We want to try to keep it from getting into those more jammy, big, bold, super dark, stewed, almost get into the plum characters and keep it very on brand, I guess, going forward.
There is that cherry, that little bit of black cherry, but also like I'd say like maybe even plum, just a little bit of that.
Like a bit of a baking spice sort of.
Yeah, yeah, but it's
a nice black currant.
The color is beautiful. It's kind of like a very dark purple, but which I always associate with one of those big, chewy, ballsy wines. But this is a little bit lighter, but it's still very, very flavorful. So you're on point with what you were at, what you were saying your plan was with this wine, because it actually does deliver.
Yeah, I think it's, and again, a lot of stuff I can talk about because I'm not the one doing it. So I really appreciate the restraint they have in the winemaking, and it's so easy to go over the, tip the scales in one direction or the other, to even hide certain things, right? And even our Chardonnay, one thing I was going to mention is, you can drink it almost warm, like it doesn't hide behind being chilled. Which I think is, again, just another hats off to what they're doing in the winery. I
think if you chilled that Chardonnay, it would take away some of the warmth of it. And I'm not saying temperature-wise, but I think the warmth of the softness.
Yep.
I think it would make it harsher if you chilled it.
Yeah, it would be.
Whereas you could probably actually chill this red, and it would taste.
Oh, absolutely.
It would taste nice. Which we learned from our Vio Romano podcast that Italians drink wine chilled. The red's chilled.
That always catches me by surprise.
I know. I found it somewhat like wine 101. That just seems so against what you should do, but it actually tasted really nice. But I suppose because you wouldn't think of it that Rome would be that hot, but it is, and so they like their wines chilled. But it was quite inviting.
Well, wine should be an adventure. in general, just like cuisine or anything else. There's no, I mean, it is subjective, and everyone's trying to do what they think is the very best thing to do with it, and everyone's trying to do it within their margins. And we talk about that a lot with, like our wines are definitely reasonably priced for the work that goes into them, but there's a ton of wines in Niagara that there's someone, they're trying new things, and that's really cool. And they're there's wines at $20 a bottle that are great value. I mean, they're not competing with an $80 bottle as far as complexity and balance, but still at $20 a bottle, they've worked miracles with it. And it's and even the terroir moving around, like, go up to the Niagara Lake and get wine from there versus the bench. It's probably fun in Niagara, being able to explore what everyone's doing. And there is a big spectrum of both terroir and winemakers doing things. And I think it's part of the adventure. Wine should be fun.
Well, yeah, and if let's say you start out your meal with an $80 bottle of wine, you don't necessarily want to serve $80 bottles of wine all night, because after the second bottle, then go to the $20 bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
Every wine has its purpose, and there are some spectacular bottles of $20 wine around here.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, more than enough. And to be honest, it's what gave us confidence to do what we're doing, because we looked at Niagara in the last 20 years. Niagara has made leaps and bounds in its quality. And really what we looked at said, if you can make a bottle at $20 or $35, tastes as good, like, what could you do if you put more into the vineyard, into the investment, into the winemaking, the viticulture? I mean, the winemaking's talent. There's some shooting goes into it. Most of it's talent in the winemaking part. The vineyard is where you really have to put your attention if you want great wine. So, and that's where, the cost comes in, because viticulture, it's going back in and making decisions in the moment, and whether, it's leaf thinning or it's, getting in there to do any sort of work that'll help bring the berries around from their current situation.
And using hand labor as well.
Yeah.
We try and limit the amount of tractor use in the vineyard to only what is necessary to try and alleviate soil compaction and everything like that. So we have teams in here from pruning over winter all the way through bud break, and we have them in here multiple times per week, just making sure, because we do have denser plantings than most vineyards around here. So with that comes some trickier things in terms of the humidity that we get in Niagara. So keeping the canopy, keeping the leaf blocking, shoot thinning, and keeping airflow circulating through the vineyard is paramount concern for us here. So, and the only way to do that with the specifications that we want is to have a team go out there and do all that stuff by hand.
Yeah, we had such a hot summer. How did that affect?
Oh, it was incredibly humid, and that's the other part.
Yeah, it was very humid.
There's a balance also on, keeping beneficials, like they're keeping the grass longer. So you want to keep those beneficial insects, things like that, in the vineyard. But long grass creates humidity. So there's a huge balance, and it really is a day by day decision. And getting out there and looking at the vines, saying, okay, well, this is a step we'll take today to move us forward. And yeah, humidity is huge across the region. It's not just us, but being closer planted. I mean, we wanted to go meter by meter, but it was, again, thanks to the close-knit Niagara community of other vineyards that, tried it and said, don't. Don't do it. So we went 6 across and 6 by 3, yeah.
It's nice how this community actually does come together and everybody does help each other.
For sure.
Yeah, I suppose owning your own winery too, it doesn't give you a lot of chance to go around and visit a lot of different wineries.
Not as much as we'd like to. Dave and I went out last spring and did our diplomatic tour, it's great. It's the most fun part of our job. And we all, since then, we said, we'll go next week. And we haven't been able to get back to it. But it is the best thing. I love to see what other people are doing. And there is no real secrets. Everyone's pretty open about what they're doing, even on their business models. So it's great to hear what they're doing, what their plans are. I mean, if even us doing our own version of a premium wine, and our prices are actually pretty reasonable. It's that we don't have any lower tiers, so everyone's got a bottle in their shop at $80. It's just that we don't have a bottle under that. But anyone that's, and you got, Two Sisters Geronimo or something like that too. Anybody that's elevating the price of Niagara wine is definitely a friend of the community, because it's those $20 bottles probably aren't worth $30, and those $30 bottles probably should be sold for $40, realistically, at their quality. So anyone that can elevate it and help out anyone else, everyone's always pretty positive about it.
And it's also great. I find for myself, I love supporting local. Like, I love going to all the wineries around here and helping my community grow. And I think that's a really important thing that we all need to do.
We've actually heard a lot of that too from the patio tastings that I've been doing throughout the summer, and the feedback and response we get from Toronto all the way down to absolutely like really local people in Niagara. They're really happy to come and support us for sure.
Yeah, and if you look at any wine region in the world, we're probably the only wine region that predominantly, because there's a lot of people that do it, so I don't want to knock, because there's a lot of supporters, but ounce for ounce, we're like far behind other regions in the world that only drink their regions. And it's growing here. It really, really, truly is. And in the 5 years we've been in it's extremely noticeable. But it's something it's where you're from. You're drinking, your culture, your heritage, or whatever it is. But you're drinking where you're from. You're eating tomatoes from Ontario. You're eating apples from Ontario.
Peaches,
right? Canadian ground beef, whatever it is, it's a part of who you are. And there's probably some sort of biological, scientific evidence somewhere that backs it up. But it is important, and it's your terroir. It's what you're used to. Because you go to other places, you try. We did a tasting with a great guy through Peller. He invited us to visit some Hungarian wines, and they were fantastic. But the one thing I really noticed was how different they were, and that I bet you I don't want to say they tasted funny. They didn't, but I'm sure they would almost be like, okay, you don't want to taste funny, because it would be what they're used to, right? You drink it all the time, and you just be so used to that. So I think it's a good thing to be part of your region and embracing it. And it's such a great. I don't think people realize how lucky they are to have a world-class wine region in their backyard.
I think they started to when there was an LCBO strike.
Yeah. And I think COVID helped too.
I was going to say, the pandemic definitely helped when everyone was kind of limited to coming down here during the summer and everything. A lot of people from Toronto, Mississauga, Oakville were almost forced to come down to Niagara. And then actually, when they started drinking it, they're like, oh, wow. Because there might have been preconceived notions from decades ago when the wine quality wasn't what it is today, and to be able to reintroduce them to what we're doing in Niagara, it definitely was a silver lining to the pandemic for sure.
Well, it takes time, I think, for any region to grow and to develop their reputation. Mm-hmm. I first started coming up here in the late 90s, and there were hardly any wineries. Mm-hmm. And I remember coming with my father and like maybe doing 10 wineries, over a weekend, and being like, okay, we're almost tapped out. And now it's like there's 100, what is it, 120 or something?
I think there's even more than that.
Yeah, it's more than that in the region that are opening. And I think it's great that the culture has actually supported that much, because obviously people are buying Ontario wines.
Yep.
And the stigma against them is actually starting to go away.
Oh, for sure it has. And you could give a lot of, it's funny because I talk to a lot of people about this. It's a pretty common subject, and there's people that are very bitter about it. But you got to look at the positives and look at, it takes some balls to go against, commonly held beliefs. So when you take, the Psalms that are in Toronto that are embracing it, that aren't just looking back through their WSET notes or whatever they're doing to, and the ones are like, nah, I'm confident enough in what I like that I'll champion a Canadian wine. And they grow daily. We grow restaurants in Toronto that do phenomenal with us. and it's a huge part their open mindset. And there are a lot of slums in Toronto that embrace it, and every day it grows. And but I mean, to be fair, those slums are also, they might believe in Canadian wine, and that their clients might not. So they have to go by what people are ordering at the restaurants too, and what they're buying their clients. So, but I find bit by bit, it is, well, not bit by bit, I say it's by weeks. In the 5 years we've been involved, that's definitely exploded.
I think that's great. And it's great for the region. And I noticed the same thing happening in Quebec as well.
Phenomenal.
I've been up in, the Quebec Reds are very baby, like very, very young, and they'll develop over time. But boy, they do some great great whites up there, and some really fantastic bubbly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Dave's going to Montreal in November, actually. I'm not going to go. So
Go to the Eastern Townships.
Yeah.
Yeah, like around Loch Rome.
Okay.
The wineries there are really, there's one winery up there that I actually found an incredible red.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the Eastern Townships, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and it's fun. I love it. It's fun to explore because I'm originally from the States. I'm from Ohio. When I go back home and go to some of the wineries there, again, some of the wines there are very sweet. Like they do a lot of really sweet. Their reds can be like incredibly sweet, but it's the same thing. Like in growing up in the States, like Napa Valley there was a big resistance to American wines initially. Like especially Europeans were like American wine.
Yeah.
And now
Until Steven Spurrier.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Sideways came the movie, and then it destroyed Merlot.
I was just saying that's one of the coolest case studies that you could find out, just where Merlot sales just tanked.
Yeah, just from that movie. Yeah. And it's something that we constantly reference because, I would say I was actually guilty of that, of going like, oh, I don't like Merlot. And then I started drinking Merlot again. I'm like, what was my issue? Like, I let a movie influence me? How dumb am I?
It was just funny because he loved Merlot. He hated his wife.
But, the Merlot in your red blend it's a really nice blend of Merlot and the Cab. And I think it's very drinkable. And it makes me want a burger or a steak, because it's like that would be the perfect accompaniment for this.
Yeah, great barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like what you said in your intro. I think that's the stigma of wine is that you have to be, you just mentioned a burger, and the stigma of wine that you have to be, over the moon, classy about it in every way. And I mean, I think it's anything, if it's a quality product, you can enjoy it however you want to enjoy it. You don't have to know exact. And pairings are, I think more people pairings are a little, they have their place for sure. And I mean, some stuff is phenomenal when you pair it. You'll know it when you do it. And if you have a knowledge of it, you have a culinary knowledge, you can definitely put some stuff together that's great with the wine. But there's no textbook to it because every wine's a little different. Like each inside their varietals too.
And everybody's palate is different as well.
Exactly. Right?
So, what I think might taste fantastic, you could be like, ugh. Then we've had that conversation, Lukas and I, my producer, about certain things that we both hate over that we like. And it's like, yeah. And it's for a listener, when you do come here and do a wine tasting, you do a food pairing with it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we believe in it.
Yeah.
But it is, I do find that the idea, well, I think that my point is that I think people get intimidated as far as even spending more money on wine because they say, well, I would know. Like, well, do you know something good when you see it? You don't have to be an expert in it to know something good when you see it. And you have to develop a palate to some degree. Like when you're a kid, you like craft dinner, and then eventually your palate gets better. But you don't have to be an expert for your palate to get better.
But sometimes you still go back to that craft dinner because it's comfort. It's comfort food. Yeah. It's like I remember. It brings back memories of being a kid, and you're like, yeah, I love craft dinner. I think I'm gonna put a bottle of wine and have craft dinner with wine. It's like you can do that. Fine. Yeah.
I won't name them, but there's still wines I go back to that were the wines that were my gateway wines that I thought were great. And then as I got, a little bit more, my palate got a little more refined, I didn't find them as enjoyable, but I'll still go back for them once in a while for nostalgic sake. And they always have their place. They're crowd pleasers. And they're fun to drink. And like you said, you can't be opening up 80. I mean, my expensive bottle rate is like $80, $50. I'm not $20,000 bottles of wine.
No.
But still, you can't open those up all night, and you shouldn't. There's too much of a good thing. There's something to be said about it.
There's something for that spectacular thing when you like, you have somebody over for dinner and you're just like, I made this great meal and I want to serve this really great bottle of wine and I know it's going to complement it.
Yeah.
And it's going to make the food taste better and it's just going to like knock your socks off.
Yeah.
I had an artist that recently came and to go on a radio tour with me, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make dinner because I grow stuff in my garden. I'm like, I grew these peppers. I have to make stuffed peppers. So we're doing this. And I pulled out a bottle of one of their reserves from Casaba. And he almost lost his mind. He goes, oh, well, you know what? I have a problem with tannins. And I said, okay, well, then I'm going to drink the wine, but you can just have a little glass and just try it. And he was like, oh my God. And then we proceeded to drink the entire bottle together and then I had to take him there so he could buy something to send back home to Quebec. So it's like, but that makes me so happy when I've actually shown someone how fabulous the wines are here and they embrace it as well and go like, oh my God, this is an amazing bottle of wine. And then it opens them up to wanting to go to more wineries and to see like, what else do you have in this region that I need to see?
That's the fun of it.
Yeah.
And getting recommendations, saying, what do you like? What do you drink? And you're right, though. It is a great feeling when, and I actually get more pleasure out of somebody that isn't, I mean, there's a great feeling in someone that's renowned in what they do, like a writer that gets wine that validates your wine. That's an incredible feeling. And they say, yes, it is as good as you're saying it is. That's a great feeling. But one of the greatest feelings I also is where someone who doesn't know wines and they're almost self-deprecating in that they don't feel like they would know the difference, and you get to show them a wine that they really do get it. When they try it, they go, oh, I get it. Like, and it's the quality brings them over. Where they go, oh no, this is very obviously of a quality, and that's really nice to see. And like you said, you're opening their world up.
Yeah.
Those people will go on and start looking at wines differently. I mean, they might look at price tags and take a step back every once in a while because it is, if you're spending $80, $90, $100 a bottle of wine, if you're not used to doing that, but you will do it once in a while and then you'll get used to it. And then you're like, oh, that's what it is.
Like, oh, it was only an $80 bottle.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Like, oh yeah. But no, I also had a client from Australia as well, and he and his manager came out and they were blown away by the quality of Ontario wines because they were like, Australian snobby about how we've got this wine's in the world, mate, and it's
That's right. I'm like, no,
your wines are better. But that's where I find my joy, and like introducing people that are kind of like, I don't know, and then all of a sudden they become believers.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about I foresee every year. It's kind of the meter is why they go in every year. You see the international show up, and they're up, and God bless them. So they always are very flattering to us. Just that they say it every year, like, oh, it is doing great. The Niagara region, it's Chardonnay based, but it's they went to the Finger Lakes last year and last summer. Yeah, we showed really well there, and they were phenomenally nice to us about it. All of wine regions seem to be pretty open-minded and acknowledge where great wine, the potential is in great wine all over the world. We certainly do. We can't help but look at France and Germany. We do that for hundreds of years. You'd be crazy not to look at what they've done. But California is another great model. You might not follow their styles, but their tenacity for sure. And sticking it out and making a wine region everyone thought was a joke.
Yeah. And only in the grand scheme of things, in such a short period of time, it's only been about 50 years that California's been on the map.
And become like one of the destination places, and also like known for quality wine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they did it. The one thing you really have to admire about California, and it is kind of Trop of Niagara, maybe Canadians in general, but they never tried to be anything else than what they were. So, and then that's a thing you have to remember. It's you're making a Canadian wine and you're making it in your appellation, and you're going to take from other places because you're crazy not to learn from everyone, but you're not France, you're not Germany, you're Canada, and you're great.
Well, now let's move on to the Riesling.
Yes, this is
Now you have two different kinds of Riesling, right?
We
Or
do
two different years.
No, we
Two
have
different-
two different styles of Riesling from the 2019 vintage year. And maybe Nathan can just briefly walk you through how we got to making Riesling, and then I can talk about the winemaking specifically.
Well, Niagara has a great capacity for making Riesling. Probably why they grow so much of it. But we didn't want to make a Riesling. It was Peter that said, well, to go back and to do it quickly, we took on this project. We learned a lot about the potential through Peter Gamble and Sperling. And they're consultants. They wanted to remain consultants. They're kind of winding down into retirement. And but they fell in love with the project and decided to actually come on to do this with us. And the one thing Peter, I won't say quite it was his ask, but he said, my whole if we're going to do something where we get carte blanche to pick the vines, to do the spacing, to run the viticulture, do it organically, have the winemaking. If I can make a Riesling the way I've always wanted to make a Riesling, I really appreciate it. And that meant planting it. And then, multiple picks, micro fermentations, a pretty labor intensive wine. And he didn't really understand what he was talking about, to be honest. And he brought us some bottles, a bunch of 400, 500 bottles of wine from Austria and Germany, and said, "This is what I want to make." That's pretty good. It's like, and you can make this at, And he said, "Oh yeah." He said, "I'm certain I can." So it was. So he convinced us really, and it's part of the reason we have two, and we didn't restrain him a little. We probably have six, but it's an incredible process of going through the vineyard. And I mean,
He'll tell you pick it berry by berry. It's not quite.
but you almost do, because you go and you get an acidic pick, and then they're unripe grapes, and you're putting it aside, and then you're going to go through and you're going to look at some botrytized grapes, and you'll pick those, and then you'll find some in a certain ripeness you want, and you'll pick those, and you'll go through and get another ripeness you want. And then you'll pick more botrytized grapes, and you'll do. I mean, we have like a 90-liter press, just like I'm sure we're the only commercial winery that has it. I think it's only in like a tiny grandfather's basement. And then everything's micro fermented. So basically, when you get the blending process, you've got everything you need to make exactly what you want. And that's where you got to rein him in, because he's like, 10 out of this.
You don't have space for all of these fermenters.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, they'd be on the roof. But he was vindicated in that we were standing behind all of our wines. Were probably all, but the Riesling, we can say it's got to be the best of Canada. It's unreal. I mean, there's some other people that make their own. Best of Canada is probably, I should say, someone. Richter, or we go tomorrow. But I'm saying that, and just being proud of what Peter's done. And it was restaurants in Canada said, we can't even sell Riesling from Germany. We can't take it. And they taste it and they'd say, we really love it, but we'll have to take something else. And the next day we get a phone call saying, no, we'll put Riesling on at that price too. For a Riesling, it's pretty expensive. So, and then we had great restaurants like Hexagon or Oakville, the Songmeyer, can't say nice things about that put it on a tasting menu, got his customers hooked on it, and then started serving on the menu. And you get a steady flow of clients from that. And they get it. It's people that say, I hate Riesling. And then they drink it and go, And so I like Riesling. So
That goes back to the preconceived notions that we were talking about beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Of the, whether it was very sweet Canadian Rieslings that were made before, or the stuff that did come over from Germany was at a lower quality
And very dry.
and either very dry or overly cloying and sweet. So being able to show people what we're able to do with the attention to detail that Peter has set out, and like Nathan said, going through doing all of these multiple picks, doing it all by hand sorting all of them, and giving it the attention that we give to Pinot Noirs and Chardonnays and Cab Francs in the blending process, as opposed to just going out with a machine harvester, fermenting it all at once, throw some yeast in, and just saying, okay, we're done with that. It's a nice, easy thing to make. It's actually one of our most time-consuming wines that we do make here because of
gourmet Riesling.
Exactly, yeah. And like Nathan said, we're super proud of it.
well, the thing, and that's it's to build on that. It's if people weren't willing to pay more than $20, like $15 a bottle of Riesling, how are you going to make a quality? I mean, and that, there's lots of like great reasons in that price point. That's I wasn't throwing stones. How are you going to do that at $15 a bottle or $20 a bottle? So a lot of the wineries, I think, are capped by some of those prices, and they have the means, like the talent to do it. And there's Cave Springs where you're just there. That's our
nemesis.
Yeah. And we're all honest. But last time I was at Cave Springs, I said, "Well, you're the guys we're trying to beat."
Not as
they have
if
the
they-
history, right? Like
They're the
And
big
they've
dog
got-
on top, and they
make a phenomenal.
They make a phenomenal Riesling, yeah.
Gabe
Yeah.
makes phenomenal Riesling over there.
Oh yeah, they are
But yours right away has a very different nose to it. Like theirs, I could smell citrus right away. Yours, it's like I almost feel like it's tropical.
There's definitely some tropical notes in there too. There's a lot of characters that we do get from the botrytis back to grapes, and that's something that we definitely don't shy away from. And
It is very tropical. It's like it's almost like coconut, pineapple. That's what I'm tasting on my palate. But also, it's again very soft.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. There's
Very-
definitely a honey
Yeah,
there, maybe some apricot, candied apricot or something along those lines in there.
because when you get the ones that have more of a citrus edge, I find them sharper on the tongue. But this one is more like
Oh, definitely. There's definitely some more weight and body to it.
it's like a Caribbean Riesling. Like it really has that kind of something very tropical about it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Actually, it does have kind of a. It's interesting. The coconut's actually pretty interesting comment. Like now that you say it, I kind of feel a little bit of it in there.
Yeah, it's just kind of like really hint. But I also love coconut, so
Pina colada. Yeah, that'll be a tagline. Do you like pina coladas?
yeah. And have this Riesling.
I'd get fired.
No, it's just it's really unique. I haven't had a Riesling in the area that tastes like this.
Yeah, and I think that was my point, and that's that lofty statement, the best in Canada. But I meant that more as I want to be able to say that because I'm so proud of what they've done. But but it is I guess incomparable might be the better word for it, because there is something about this Riesling, and again, it can warm right up, and you can enjoy it warm almost. To be honest, it doesn't. It just gets.
I think he's just trying to say that we don't need to hide behind chilling the wines and everything.
Well, I don't think I would want to have this too chilled because it's like it's literally perfect the way it is. I think if you chilled it too much, it would lose some of that tropicalness about it, and it would then
the
become
aromatics.
Yeah.
For sure.
The aromatics are no lose. I'm always blown away by it. And I mean, I'm like a proud parent. And my kid's the one that's going to school and doing all the work.
world's best Riesling daddy.
Facing what it is. Yeah.
There's your new shirt. But But no, it's like it's really, really good. And what year is this?
2019.
19?
Yeah.
It's well done, gentlemen.
Yeah, these have been fun to watch grow. And that's like, for me, you know, I got to see it when it went in the barrel. We got to see it when it got bottled, and got to watch it grow. And it's to be honest, it was the one out of the three varietals that work right away. Like it never had to really grow and bottle. I mean, it got better for sure. But the Chardonnay and the Cab blend were definitely tight, and bottle needed time to age and bottle before they were obvious. But the Rieslings, I don't think they ever missed a step, to be honest, which is pretty impressive to make, because there's a lot of great wineries worldwide that make great ageable wines, but you got to get them to a certain point. And that point can be 10 years off from bottling before they really work. So I think Peter and Ann's real talent is getting an ageable wine that's drinkable fairly early into its bottling.
I can't imagine what that would be like in 5 years, because it's really great now.
Oh yeah, these Rieslings are gonna hold up for.
I'll
10 to
never
20
know. I would
years.
never know unless I came back in 5 years and you happen to have some in the cellar. It's like,
yeah.
can I try that?
Well, Nathan and I were actually talking about that earlier. So right before you came, we're like, we got to make sure we keep enough of this around so we can just keep opening them up every year
Moving.
and then see the development in 5, 10, 15 years down the road, right?
Well, that's what we were just talking about that with the land at Cave Springs about how wines actually evolve. It's not like they're aging; they're evolving in the bottle and getting to a point of where they need to be.
Well, that's the cool thing, and it's almost a sales pitch, but it's that, you know, if you're buying a case of wine and you have a cellar, you're not buying 12 of the same bottle of wine. Like if you're going to open one up every 6 months or every year, you're really getting 12 different bottles of wine. And that's part of the fun, if you can do that and have a cellar, is that's why I was just kind of speaking with it. It's the fun part is watching a wine actually evolve is really, really cool. And that's the thing when I have friends that aren't particularly into wine, but understand quality, like whether it's food or whatever it is, when even just from pouring a glass and letting it aerate a bit, the difference in wine. It's one of the coolest things about wine, that how much it'll change, how much it'll open up in the course of even an hour being opened is really the interesting thing about wine. And I enjoy it. Sometimes I'm disappointed because I've only got, the smallest part of my glass left by the time it gets to where it's really, really good.
Like, please, sir, can I have some more? No, it's done. Yeah. So the next Riesling is actually the same year as well.
Same year, absolutely. This one here, just to give you the brief background on it, we have the two Rieslings in 2019. One's called Dry Riesling, one's called Riesling. And with the one that's just called Riesling, it's not quite an off dry.
This did not taste dry. The
That
dry
one there?
Riesling, yeah.
Yeah,
Dry Riesling.
8.5 grams per liter RS.
That's not crazy though.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, there's a lot of weight, like we said, that comes from the botrytis and everything like that, right? That lends to that mouthfeel. So it's not that steely, hit you over the head.
No, it's like for a quote unquote dry Riesling, it's very, like I said, it's very tropical to me. And I would expect the dry Riesling to be very, like, almost tasteless.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's the conception. It certainly was mine. And like I said, even Wade's drank a lot of really great wines. I mean, Riesling at one time was the premier wine in the world. It was the most expensive wine. It was the most sought after. And there's a reason for it. It's got incredible potential. And if you do it right, you can really wow people with it for sure.
So this one has a completely different nose.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't smell tropical at all. It smells like more citrusy.
It's funny odor.
This one, this is a really cool Riesling. And Nathan and I go back and forth all the time. Which one
that is really good.
This is probably my favorite of the two at this point in time.
This one I got like a buttery thing.
With this one, I think there was some partial,
like almost like popcorn, like a buttery popcorn kind of. I know that sounds weird for wine.
No, I completely get it.
But yeah. Do you get that, Lukas?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and going back to evolution, like they were just saying, these wines are almost in a race, like in that they've changed so much that we constantly say, like if you actually we're back 2 months ago, you would have said that this one would tasted way more off dry than this one.
I think I remember that from when I first came here in the summer and had a tasting that I preferred that the regular Riesling over the dry, but now I'm like, I like the dry better. It's weird, but now that I'm tasting this one again, I'm like, wait a minute, that's why we bought both bottles. Because it was real. It's got that. I got a little bit. I get a little bit of citrus on the back, on the second sip, but only on the far back of my tongue. But like initially, that butter taste just really hit me. This is so much fun because it's such a very complex.
Very complex. And the cool thing about it is the longer you enjoy it, even if it's over 15, 20, 30 minutes, you're going to get a such different.
Well, if you have a whole bottle.
Yeah.
No, that you'll see all the different components of it kind of come out and express themselves at different points throughout enjoying it.
Which is why wine is so much fun.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like, oh, you have a beer and you taste beer. Yeah. Like
And it gets worse every second.
Worse.
Yeah, and then you feel like super bloated. You never really feel bloated with wine.
No,
You don't go like, oh God, I can't have another one. Or like, I have, it's like, no, you can keep drinking wine.
it's a great advertisement for people. Yeah.
Yeah. Buy more.
You'll
You won't get
never,
bloated.
ever,
You'll never
ever
get bloated from wine. Yeah. But no, and every sip becomes like something different. And that's what I'm finding with your wines in particular, that it's like from sip 1 to sip 3, it's completely different. And really it's something unique and really inviting.
Yeah, honestly, couldn't agree more.
You have an excellent winemaker.
Oh, yeah, and that their ability, and Dave's part of it now too, to get to do that. It blows my mind because I mean, I was lucky enough to drink good wines growing up. So I mean, I know the difference between good wine. I mean, I know quality, anything. I'm lucky enough to eat great cuisine, lucky enough to experience great things, but how they do it,
The process is really fascinating.
Yeah, and I mean it's the thing that makes it really, really interesting is it's the forecast. It's the I'll do this and this now, so that when and even at the blending stage, so I mean, this is what you do in the vineyard to get it to the tanks and then into barrel. But forgetting all that, at the blending stage, you're forecasting 2 years minimum for us of bottle aging. And what every component you're putting in is what you want that to do. So you want the oak to fall off, you want the acidity to hang on, you want all these things to happen. And you're forecasting that all that will happen in a bottle over the next 2 to 3 years. And then that's just when you're going to release it. The next 10, 15 years of bottle aging, and that you can predict, like when you see on our notes, like this, you should age between, X amount of years until it's date. You're predicting all these things, these decisions you made at blending are going to get you to here in 15, 20, 30, 40 years.
But then you don't know what the wine wants to do. Because the wine could go like, you think it's going to do that, but I'm going to take a sharp left turn, and it's going to taste completely different than what you think it's going to.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's always a gamble, right?
But it's not, and that's the point though. Is these guys can do that. I couldn't do it, and I'll never have to. They like everything, and that was the thing when we started out. So you buy raw land, you start a vineyard, you sink money into the vineyard, you do all these things, and you're doing it to some guys tell you that it's going to all work out. And you don't find, so then you grow grapes and then you put them in a barrel and then you put them in a bottle. So you're out for 4 years before you even taste your wine and really know it's going to work. So for us, the day we were able to taste them, out of the bottle after they bottle aged for 2 years, I said, oh God, thank God they don't.
They think they don't suck.
Yeah. God, they don't suck is really the thing we said. So I mean, And every year since then, since 2019, they've got, they've been in bottle for about 3 years now. They're doing it. They're doing exactly what they said they would do. Everything they said they would do, they're doing. They're aging beautifully. They're doing great, and they're balanced. There's nothing that sticks out in them. They're all.
I like to look at the tasting notes after I've tasted it, and then go like, "Oh, that's interesting," because that's not anything that what I thought. Yeah, everyone's different, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think sometimes if you look at a tasting note, then that prejudices you for what you think you're going to taste.
100%, of course. I agree.
Yeah,
100%. And I think they're great guidelines. I think it's an interesting window into what the winemakers see. So these are winemakers write these notes. So it's interesting a window into their tasting. So, but I think if you're a novice, they're great. You'll be able to find these things if you look for them. But like I said, wine's subjective, and if you want to have this Riesling with chicken wings, go ahead and have your chicken wings.
but also like when you wrote these tasting notes, and now it's like the wine's been in the bottle for longer. It's still developing, and it's still evolving. So that could be why I'm tasting something. Also, I have a different palate. The longer the wine is sitting there in the bottle, it's changing.
Excellent point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what they wrote, if they wrote this 6 months ago, could be completely different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I stand behind tropical.
I get it. I agree. It's got it. And I mean, it depends. If it were 2 degrees cooler, maybe you wouldn't get that.
Yeah.
There's it's part of the adventure, and I don't think there's any wrong answers in wine. That it's about enjoying it. It really truly is, and I think that's the part that people have to get behind. Is just
wine is fun.
It is.
Don't be intimidated by it.
That's why we're all here, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, because you know what? You get to meet cool people. Yep. You get to see beautiful vineyards. You get to have amazing tasting experiences. What's not to love about that?
That's it. It's everything about life experiences, and it's nice, and that's part of why we did the property the way we did it. We wanted it to be something that gave you that experience, so you didn't feel like you were in a sterile environment, and I think it actually takes a level of intimidation down too. Just you feel like you're a little bit more connected with nature, and I think subconsciously maybe that puts you a little bit more at ease. It's a little bit more like being on the dock at a cottage.
Well, yeah, and the view with the trees here, and give it another few weeks, and it's going to just be gorgeous. The fall colors and just, it's very. I feel very relaxed sitting here.
Yeah, we're really lucky. We are lucky in a million different. I mean, we're lucky that we're from Niagara. We're lucky that we were able to make wine in Niagara. We're lucky that other people did all the heavy lifting before we got here. We're lucky that we found this property. We're lucky that people with great talent from Dave, Peter, and bought into our dream. I mean, the list goes on and on. We couldn't be luckier. It's almost like one of those things that the stars aligned for us, and we really got everything you could ask for.
Well, it's a beautiful property and fantastic wines. And honestly, listener, I'm lucky that I have been here previously. Otherwise, I would have never found it.
Yeah, lucky people like you come out. It's to take a chance, right? That there are people that are exploring Niagara, and we get them every weekend. And they're all people that have found out one way or the other, and they've decided to come check it out further.
Do you find that now that you're in the travel guide, you get more people coming out?
You know what? I think everything's always a little delayed. I mean, it's just, and I get it because I'm delayed, like in every way. But no, I mean, I have plans I want to make, and I say I'm going to do this restaurant, and it takes me 3 years to get there. So, I think that's the way we're starting. People hear about it and they go, "Oh, one day let's go." Like we're busy. So I mean, we're definitely getting our fill, but I bet you there are a lot of people that are still saying, "Hey man, I've got a seminar in Prince Edward County every year." You know what I mean? And I haven't done it yet. So I think that's the case with everything. People have it on their list. And so same thing with the travel guide. We do typically ask people where they come from, so we're just curious. But we get a lot from restaurants in Toronto, actually, is a big one. And I'd say most people that show up here are either they've heard about us through somewhere, like a writer or something. a lot of people are just like Googling what's new. And then we get a lot of people that have had our wines in a restaurant in Toronto predominantly that say, we are your wine, we're thrilled, we want to come down. So we get it from quite a few directions.
Well, hopefully in the future, there'll be people that have heard this podcast and that will come in and visit you because of that.
Yeah.
So
no, I don't doubt it. I think,
Yeah, and honestly, to your listeners, please come down and see us. It'll be myself and Nathan. We do all the tastings ourselves. We don't have a retail staff or anything. We do it by appointment only so that we make sure that the both of us can give you our undivided attention. If you do book a tasting, you will be the only people on the property at that time. So you will have the full attention of us and a really cool spot to enjoy yourself.
Oh, for sure. And speaking as someone who has actually had that tasting, it was like, you just felt like you were so, my friend Julie and I both felt like we were really special and that like our business really mattered. And also the view, even though it was raining, it was stunning and just immediately felt relaxed. And your tasting, the food pairing was fantastic. And we really enjoyed that as well.
Hey, last weekend, we say it every weekend, but it's probably our favorite part, to be honest. It's your chance to share it. And like David said, we like to make it private. Nothing we do is geared to be snobby.
It's intentional.
Yeah, it's the idea that we think this property is special. We want to make sure people come here, they're not necessarily rushed, that they get a chance, because it's really is important for us the way the feeling you get. So we want to make sure people get that. And it's our chance to share it with people and share it with like-minded people. I mean, no one comes here with the mindset that they hate wine and need to be convinced. So they're like-minded people, and we get to have a good time with them. And it's actually my favorite part of the week, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see why, because it's like, you know what, you get to like, it's almost like you're showing off your baby.
Yep.
You know, like
100%.
Yeah.
Well, it's meant to be enjoyed with company, whether it's family, friends, people new to the experience. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. So wine is fun. It's not pretentious.
No.
It's super fun. And I've had a really fun time with you guys this afternoon.
Oh, thank you.
Like,
yeah, this is blast.
Your wines are spectacular. The view is wonderful. And you guys are great hosts.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mark.
So thank you so much for being a part of this episode of Still the Wine.
It's a pleasure.
Really, really fun. So listener, hopefully you had as much fun as we did. So be sure to visit the show notes, because there'll be information on the website for Dobbin, as well as some photos of the wine, as well as some information for their website that you can visit. And we really hope that you will come and visit them, because this is such a great, fun place. Also, don't forget to like and follow Spill the Wine on all platforms. And if you have any topics or suggestions that you would like us to address, then be sure to email us at podcastspillthewine@gmail.com. That's podcastspillthewine@gmail.com. And now let's just say cheers to Nathan and Dave, and thank you for a wonderful time, and we'll see you the next time on Spill the Wine.
Thank you.